Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Well, it's back to school time. Well, a little bit past back to school time, but I thought maybe people hadn't finished getting their notebooks completely prepared the way they like them, and I thought we would do a fun little video on covering a composition book with paper and making a pocket in it and making some cool little bookmarks, or a little bit unusual, but I thought it would be fun to try that out. And so what I've done is this composition book came from Staples, and the measurements on it are it's 9 3/4 inches tall, and it's 7 3/8 inch on the outside across the front. It's 1/4 of an inch on the spine, and then another 7 3/8 inch. So what you do is you add up the 7 3/8 inch wide and the other 7 3/8 inch for the back, and then the 1/4 inch binder would equate to 2/8 of an inch, and it ends up you need 15 inches of paper. Well, most of us don't have 15 inches of paper. You could take a paper roll, you know, like a paper bag or a white paper roll, or something like this that is craft paper that you get from Dollar Tree. It's like a kid's sketch pad. You can do that and then maybe stamp on it and use it that way. But I decided I wanted to use pattern paper, and I wanted to make it pretty. So that's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do on mine is I've already cut my measurement, and so what I did was one piece of paper I made 12 inches. Well, I cut it down in the end because it had a little boo-boo on it. I made it 9 3/4 inches tall, and then I made it wide enough to go around the back, or long enough to go around the back. And then I scored it at 7 3/8 and 7 5/8 to give it that 1/4 inch that we need for the binding there. So then what I did was I covered tear tape around the whole outside of our book. The most efficient, easiest way to take tear tape off, and I'm going to show you this just because, I don't know, for me, the first few times I did this, I wasn't that good at it, and the reason was you have to get the edges really pressed down, and I didn't do that the first couple times I worked on it. So my edges, my end edge, wasn't completely down. And you take a pokey tool or something and pull it off, just like that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to show you a couple different ways of doing it, and the first way of doing it is take one piece of tear tape off at a time, and we're going to line up. I'm going to turn it sideways because that's the easiest way for me to do anything, is having it facing me and having the paper perfectly lined up. That way I don't seem to screw it up as badly. Or I still do. Let me take that piece off. Nope, I'm going to go with it, and then I'll show you how you fix that. So I have one piece down, and it's nice and tight. I do have a little edge here that's a little wonky, but I'm going to fix that. Then you just are going to go from there. You're just going to continue taking off your score tape and really making sure that your paper is flat as you go. This is, I think, the easiest way to do it, because you're making sure as you go that each piece is flattened, there's no bubbles, there's no wrinkles. If you do it the other way, where all the papers are, or all the tear tape is exposed, we did this project with my great nieces, and what we learned was that you can really screw this up fast if you just lay it down a little bit wrong. So that's why I'm showing you this technique, because it is much easier doing it this way than it is taking all the tear tape off and running with it. So go with that piece. And then as I said, I have one piece of tear tape right here on the back spine, and I wanted to make sure that when I did this project, I showed you every mistake you could possibly make, because when my great nieces and I did it, we didn't even videotape it because we were doing it in a hurry, and everybody had their own system, and some systems went better than other, and so we learned a lot of mistakes along the way. So that is that part. Now, you can see already that I'm off a little bit on my top edge. It's no problem, because here's the thing also. The thing that we didn't realize is that these Staples books, the covers were not really straight. So you end up with all this unevenness. So you have to either embellish or improvise. So we're going to probably do a little bit of both. Now I made this paper long enough to wrap around the back edge, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put that piece underneath, and I'm going to put this piece on top of it, so that my clean edge is my new paper and you can't see this other problem area. So let me take this last piece of tear tape off, and we'll push that down. So now that is completely even. Now what you have to remember though is that we just covered up our tear tape for that piece, so we're going to need to put another piece of tear tape in its place. So you see that this paper doesn't go all the way to the edge. Here's another lesson we learned. Instead of putting this piece of tear tape on the book, we put this piece of tear tape on our paper instead. That way we were sure our paper, that our glued area was all the way to the edge of our paper, and we wouldn't have any problems with not having it glued down all the way. Does that make sense? It should. If it doesn't, put a comment out there and I'll try and explain it for you. Because sometimes when I tell you this stuff, I think to myself, that didn't even sound like it made sense. So if it didn't make sense to you, please feel free to ask me what I mean by something. Okay, so we've got this one little piece of tear tape taken off, and what we're going to do is we're going to line this page up, and this time it's going to be easier because I'm not going to put the sticky part down. I'm going to put the sticky part, I'm going to put it so the sticky part is the last thing that goes down. Making sure it's lined up. Hopefully it's lined up as the other side was, and you see how this top edge is not exact. Part of it is because there's paper sticking out, but also it's because these books were not even. And that was another lesson that we learned the hard way. We were like, what is going on? I swear I did that right. And then you'd figure out that maybe it was a 1/16 of an inch different. So it's a learning process when you do a little project like this, especially when you're doing it excuse me, at back to school time, when Staples is producing these by the millions and their attention to detail isn't as great as when they're making them during the year for their business customers, in my opinion. My opinion only, just my opinion. And then this piece, I have a little bit of my tape that's coming, that went over the edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it back so I don't have any sticking out over the edge. And then that's good. Okay. Our first phase is done. Our book is covered. Now you see that this edge isn't completely perfect. That's not a problem. We can trim that off. We can do a lot of different things. But for now, I think the easiest thing to do would be for us to just trim it down. And we'll just kind of go along this edge and get rid of the excess cardboard that we don't want. The other thing we have to remember is that our edges on our composition book are rounded, so we're going to want to open the book and round the corner with your, I'm going to use my little scissors for this, because if you cover your inside, which we're going to be doing, once you cover your inside, you're not going to be able to tell where your circly your half circle is. You know what I'm saying? You with me? Okay. I'm going to trim this corner as well. Okay. There's that part of the book. Then we'll do the back. I already cut the papers for the back, so when you see all these other papers kind of flying around, that's what they are. And I have excess paper on this piece, so I'm going to just quickly trim up the edge of it. So I think our outside is in pretty good shape. There is our book. Now, I've made some extra, I don't need this anymore. I've made some extra pieces for us to do other things with the book, including we're going to cover the inside covers of our book. And I thought we would do that with wet glue, just so you could kind of see the difference between, you know, how easy it works with wet glue versus dry glue, and kind of, you know, think through, you know, what is the thing that you want to do with your journal. And the other thing we figured out the hard way is margin line, you know, because that's the top of your book, so that's the front. So when we were making a holder for our pen, we were having trouble figuring out where we wanted to stick our pen holder until we figured out, you know, like exactly where we wanted it. Well, where we wanted it was on the back cover, or a bit, well, around the back cover kind of, and what we found we were doing is gluing it to the wrong place because of that little problem with not remembering which was up and down and sideways. And I'm using some tacky glue that really doesn't want to come out. Let me see if I can get this aqua glue to come out better. That's coming out better. This will leave a little bit more of a bumpier surface, but it will hold all the paper down if you really make sure you have it covering your entire book really well. And you can use school glue. I wanted to show you different techniques with this because I thought, you know, like let's say that you want to do this project and you get home and all you have is some Elmer's glue and you don't know what to do because all you've got is Elmer's glue. This will solve that problem for you because we're going to give you how to do it with Elmer's glue, as well as tacky glue, or not tacky glue, as well as the dry adhesive. I'm going to have to pick that up because it's too low, I think, and it needs a little bit more glue, I think. It's very, in a very kind of dry environment, and I have a fan going, and the fan is making it so that it's drying things a little bit faster than I want it to. Now on this page, I'm going to be making a pocket, not a folder. And so I don't care if the very bottom of this is even, you know, with my base, because it's going to be covered by my pocket. So that's something else you'll want to remember, that if you are going to do a pocket, you don't have to worry about things like that. But again, we're going to trim our paper as we go because we want to make sure that we don't have any problems with being able to see what's what, and it makes it a lot easier. The next thing I'm going to do is the pocket. Now when I made my pocket, what I did is I measured the inside page for depth, and I wanted it about a half an inch smaller, no, a half an inch less than this, because I wanted to be able to have a spot where they could slide the papers in and out. But you also need to have a score of about a half of an inch as well, because you're going to want to fold it under. So I scored it at the half inch here and here, and now we're going to notch out the bottom corner. And that pair of scissors didn't even want to open. So what we're doing on this one is we're going to make it so that our paper folds under like this, and this part folds in. And before we glue it down, we're going to take our paper cutter and we're going to cut it at an angle, but I wanted to do this fold first. So it's going to go into our book just like this. It's not as tall as our paper, because we're going to be making it so that we can slide paper into it, and it's going to be angled so that we can put our paper into it, and it's not as deep so that we can get our paper in and out. With me? So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a line of tear tape on this, and you're going to put your tear tape as close to your line, your score line as possible, because you're going to want to make sure. And I'm going to take off. No, I better cut it first before I do that. Let me show you that part next. I'm going to use some, I have some white sparkly washi that I thought I would go along my bottom edge with all the way to the seam, like that. And then I'm going to do another row of it. Then I thought I'd do another row of it where I'm actually on the folder. Now I'm going to have to go the other way, I think, if you want to see it. For some reason, I have very little room to work today. I don't know why. Hopefully, let's see if this is in the frame. I'm going to just go along the edge of that, and I'm going to stay right on the edge of that, and then I'm going to push that down. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. Hopefully you can see this. I'm trying hard to figure out a way to make sure you are. I'm going to do one more row across the bottom because I want to make sure that my folder doesn't move. And then I'm going to run a row right there. One row right along that edge. That way we've blinged up our folder and we've reinforced it at the same time. I'm going to get this little piece off the edge. There's that. And a little piece right there. Okay, so there is our folder. Works like a charm. It's all ready to roll. And then we're going to go to the back cover. And on the back cover, I didn't have any more really cool paper, so I thought I would just go with this plain green, but I also thought that I would do some cute embellishing on it so that it would look good. This actually, if you're doing with kids, the wet glue is much easier than the tear tape. I just like tear tape because of its stability, but if you're working with kids, honestly, moving the paper, everything is so much easier when you're using this wet glue. Stick down my paper right here, and it really makes your covers really nice and sturdy too. And I'm just gonna trim the edges of that. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make our bookmarks. Now, when you make bookmarks, most people make bookmarks pretty simple, and I'm just as happy as the next guy to make an easy bookmark, but I found some fun ones that you can make, or fun ways to make bookmarks that will make your project a little bit more I don't know, exciting for you and the kids you're making it with. So I'm going to use a different trimmer because this trimmer is a little easier to work with on this kind of paper. Okay, I'm going to cut my bookmarks are going to be, let's see, I'm going to make it 1.5 inches wide. I'm going to make it 2 inches wide because then it's prettier. So I think I got a little bit of a grip on my camera problem, or my tripod problem, I hope, anyway. So this is where we are so far. This is our inside cover of our book, and this is our back cover of our book, and that is our book. The next thing we're going to make is we're going to make a pen holder, because of course you need a pen holder when you're doing that. So we're going to take a 1-inch strip of paper. Now this is very thin paper, so we're going to double our paper over once and make it double paper. And I'm going to run some tear tape inside there to make it even stronger, because this will make it so that it's got some oomph to it. It's a big word for you for the day, a little oomph. And then after we do the tear tape, that makes it so that we can fold our paper in half and really have it stick down really well and not have to worry about it coming apart. And as I said, makes it stronger. Then you're going to fold your paper over, hopefully, making sure that it's even. If it's not a problem, because you don't need to see it anyway. So that is what it's going to look like at this point, okay? It doesn't need to be that long, but that's not our concern. Our next step is we need a pen. So we're just going to go with your basic ballpoint pen. You're going to wrap your paper around your pen. Now I don't need this much extra, but I'm going to keep it anyway because I'm going to show you where we're putting it and why we're putting it there, and I'm hoping that my back cover isn't so glued down that we can't get it off. No, it's not. Okay, you can go as far in and down as you want to. I normally, when I'm going to glue it down, or since we're going to glue it down, I normally only have about, I would say, 2 inches extra that I'm going to put underneath my paper. So you're going to take some tear tape and you're going to put it inside up to the pen, but not so that you can't get the pen out. And then you're going to tear it so that it comes off. Here's what I mean. I want to make sure you see this. You want to have enough gap here so that your paper or your pen doesn't stick on that sticky stuff. And it will if you get it too close. So stay far enough away from the pen that your double-sided tape doesn't adhere to the pen. See how my pen moves in and out? That's because my double-sided tape wasn't too close to it. So now I'm going to put double-sided tape on the back up to kind of where the opening starts of the pen, for the pen, and then on the other side same way, about up to where the opening is for the pen. And you're going to take and cut off any excess. Okay, and then we've got our backing ready. So you're going to take your backing off. You can take it off both sides at once, not a problem. Okay, so you decide where you want your pen. Let's say I want my pen, and I'm going to move my paper away. I want my pen to lay right there in my book. I'm going to have it far enough away that I can get it inside. Hold on, I might have to cut a little bit of it off. Okay, that's good. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our paper back down, and hopefully I made it far enough away that our pen can still move around but come out. So I moved my pen down a little bit and out a little bit so that it was far enough away from the paper that I didn't have to worry about it. And then I put a little bit more tear tape in there so that it would be nice and sticky. And now I'm going to get a little bit more Tombow Mono Aqua and shove in between my layers of paper, because I have that little area there where the two lines of paper came apart, and I don't want that for sure. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to just push really hard on your paper. This is if you mess this up. If you just put your pen down before you put your back cover on, you wouldn't have had that problem, but then you wouldn't have learned from my big boo-boo, right? See how my pen now comes in and out nice and easy. And when I close my book, my pen is in the back of my book, ready to be used anytime I need it. So we got over that hurdle. Whew, that was a hard one. So now we're going to make bookmarks. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, what's the big deal with the bookmark? Well, when I was playing around doing this with my nieces, what we found out was there were some really cool ways you could make bookmarks that we were unaware of. So what we did was we got our paper and cut it into strips that we thought were wide enough for our project. And in this case, these are 2-inch strips. And then I'm going to use two kinds of paper because I want it to be sturdier. And it doesn't have to be this long. In fact, we're going to cut them off much shorter than this. But I wanted to show you kind of the system. So what we did was this. We took our two papers, and I'm going to use tear tape again. You're not going to see me do this. I'm going to just cut the tear tape off of the project. Here's what we did. We took a piece of paper. This is my front, and then this is a thicker piece of paper, and this is going to be my back. I'm going to take the backing off my tear tape, if I can, and then I'm going to fold. If you have any tear tape that is above the edge like I do, I just folded it under, and then I'm going to line it up. Let's see if this is as wide as mine. And then you're going to line them up like that. Then you're going to cut them off. And in our case, what we did was we cut them off about, like this is glued down about 1 inch, and then we had about another, you can make this as long as you want it to, but let's say we make it another maybe 1.5 inches. So in the end, let's say our bookmark is 2.5 inches. I'll measure it for sure, but I think our bookmark is like between 2.5 and 3 inches long. Then what we did with it is we decorated the top, and I'll find an embellishment and decorate this for you so you can see it. And then do you see how there's like a flap there? What we did was we just took that and we put it in between our papers like that, and that became our bookmark. See how it sticks up? So you don't have to have it that tall. You can make it as short as you want to. So I'll make another one for you so you can just see it real quickly. Then everybody likes your standard bookmark. You can do these in a bunch of different ways, but this is what we did when we made ours, because we wanted them to be pretty and also work well for us. So we took our good paper and just laid it over our plain paper, and then just trimmed it off. And this is just your typical bookmark. This is not the kind I showed you first. It's going to be one that you're just going to stick inside like that. And if you've never made one this way, all you do is you just fold paper in half that you really like, and we will glue it down. Pretty much everybody has their own way of doing bookmarks, and you can always come up with a plan that's a little bit different or unusual. And in my case, the girls and I just like the idea of the one that's kind of flicked over it on itself. But then this one works as well, where you're just going to take thin paper and double it over and trim it down so that it's the way you like it. And if you want to, you could take a corner rounder and round the edges if you like, or you can just make it the way it is. And that's our third one. So our last step is going to be our embellishments for on our 3 different bookmarks. This one is the one that opens and closes, so I thought I would just put a little bow on it right in the middle up high so that it stays and you can open and close it. We'll put that in first. All you do is you're going to open your book, you're going to choose the number of papers you want to put it into, and it doesn't have to be that tall. Remember, you can always cut it down. In fact, let me do that so you can see it's not that hard to do. So let's say, this is the length of the top of it. We don't want it to be that long, so we're going to cut it down a little bit. So I'm just going to cut maybe 1/4 of an inch off of it to 1/2 of an inch, and then we'll put our bow right in the center up there. That way it won't stick up too high in their book bag. And we'll put that one in right there. So that's our first. Then our next one we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of, this is just our regular bookmark. This doesn't have any kind of big embellishments on it, so we're going to really bling it up. And I put double-sided tear tape on the back of this ribbon, and this ribbon it's got sequins on it, and you can get it for well, you could get it, I don't know if it's still available, but my Dollar Tree is where I bought mine. And then all you do is you line it up. If I can see it, I'm going to have to pull it down so I can make sure I do it straight. And we're going to put that right there. So there is bookmark number 2. We'll just stick that in right there, like that. And then bookmark number 3 is the one that only has the pretty paper at the very top. So I thought what I would do with that is just put a little bit of this pretty ribbony ribbon. It's pleated ribbon that you get from Stampin' Up. I think it's been retired, but you know, you can always find this stuff on eBay. And I'm going to put that pretty close to the top, and I'm going to wrap it around the back. I'm going to make sure it's straight, which it wasn't. I'll just wrap it around the back, and you can wrap it all the way around. In my case, I wrapped it about 3/4 of the way around, but it doesn't really matter. And there is our third bookmark. And there you have it. A really fun way to change an ugly composition book from something that you aren't really thrilled about to something that you're really proud of and that you are glad to be able to show your classmates. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I have more projects for kids coming up, well, teenagers, and I hope you'll stay tuned and watch for those as well. And please share my channel with your friends on social media. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.